Hey class, in this lesson we're going to continue our discussion of variables. As a reminder, if you want to learn Unreal blueprints, variables are day one. Think of them as your game's memory. Today we aren't just going to look at definitions, we're going to build an interactive spinning cube from scratch using the four most critical variable types I mentioned in the previous video. Let's head over to Unreal and get started. At the bottom of our screen in our content browser, locate your Blueprints folder. Then, within it, right-click in the content browser and select Blueprint class. Then we want to select actor. And remember, an actor is an object that can be placed and spawned in the world. The rest of these classes that come after it all derive themselves from the actor class. Let's name it BP underscore spinning cube. Let's double click it so we can start to enter our logic and our blueprint code. Once you're inside, head up to the top left components panel and click add. We're going to search for the standard cube. Right now, this cube is a lifeless static mesh. Let's give it a brain by starting to create four core variables. Locate your variables section and go ahead and click on the Add Variable button 4 times. Select your first variable. For our first variable, head over to the Details panel. Let's rename the variable name. We want to make this one is spinning, and we can leave it as a Boolean. Let's go ahead and compile and save this. Next, select your next variable. Mine's new var underscore 0. Don't worry, we're going to rename all of these. Let's change this variable name to spin speed. And we're going to make this one of type float. Remember, a float is a whole number that has a decimal after it. So you have like 24.1. So it's really just a kind of a floating point number. All right, let's compile and save that. Let's go down to our next variable here. And we're going to name this one spin direction. This one is actually going to be a vector. And if you recall, a vector has 3 parameters. Let's take a look at these. Compile and save this. It has an x, y, and a z. And if you see how I hover over it, it actually signifies that it tells you that this is the z column. And this is going to be the axis in which we spin our cube. Next, we want to name our cube. So go ahead and select the variable underneath spin direction here. Let's rename this, and we want to make this one of type string. We're going to name this one cube name. And compile and save that. All right, now that we created our variables, let's go ahead and enter the values. So for in spinning here, we want to make sure that this is checked, which means that it's true. For spin speed, we're just going to enter 100 here. For spin direction, we want to make sure that it's spinning on the z-axis. Let's enter a 1 here. And then for the cube name, we're going to go ahead and give it a name of the vortex cube. And then for description, if you want, you can give it the description of, this is a power-up in the description panel. And that'll let people know when they see your variable here that this is it signifies a power-up. Again, let's compile this. And the reason why we keep compiling and saving is if we try to type in the numbers or variables without doing that, Unreal won't let you. So you must always hit compile first. And the way that we know we compiled it successfully is there's a green check mark here. All right, let's jump over to our event graph. So we're starting with the event begin play, which is this event right here. And if you recall, if you right click, you can pan. You can zoom in and out with your mouse. If you want to zoom in even further, hold shift and zoom in with your mouse even more. Or rather control on PC. Now what I'd like to do is, as a debugging tool, is I'd like my cube to essentially introduce itself. And it's going to do that in the top left corner of the screen. So let's go ahead and drag out our, from our event begin play here, we have our execution pin here. I'm going to drag this out. I'm just going to type the word print. And I'm going to select print string here. And let's expand this out as well. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to get the vortex cube string here. And I'm going to drop that in here. I'm going to get it, and I'm going to link that into the string here. And with that selected, the name here, we're going to go ahead and name this the vortex cube so that it spits that out to the screen. That's the value it's holding. So let's compile and save that. Now let's scroll down to event tick. This node to me, I consider it a beast. It executes code every single frame of your game. So for example, if your game runs at 60 frames per second, this node fires 60 times a second. So get ready for moving things, but bad if you aren't careful. So you have to be very careful with how fast you run. So you can either drag a wire from here, or you can hold the B as in boy key and left click and create a branch node. And for the condition, we're going to select is spinning. We don't want our cube spinning if our switch is turned off. So we want to drag a wire from essentially our tick here and create the overall. So let's go ahead and link this up. And then for our condition, we're going to use is spinning. And if you recall, when we selected it or we created it, we left this at true. If it's set to false, everything stops. All right, so from our true pin here, path of our branch, let's go ahead and pull this out. And we're looking for add local rotation. This is sort of the physical muscle that spins our actor. Now what I'd like to do is under delta rotation here, what this is that's the vector. And what I want to do is I want to mix our speed float and our direction vector together. So to make this easy, let's split this. So I'm going to right click here. I'm going to do split struct pin. And now you can see we have the X, Y, and Z all on their own axis. Let's jump over to our scene just to sort of reiterate how this X, Y, and Z works, and make sure to note that this says rotation. So here inside of our level, I'm just going to grab my cube here and then just pull it up. And you can see under this rotation here, here's our X. If I left click and I drag, you can see it rotates on that angle. What I'd like to do is rotate it just on the Z axis so that it does something like this to indicate that this is a pickup. Some sort of like the classic Nintendo way of doing things. So let's go back to our event graph and set this up. So let's drag out our spin speed and our spin direction variables into the graph as get nodes. Similar to the way that we did that to our add actor local rotation, let's right click on our spin direction here and do split struct spin. And this will give us access to the X, Y, and Z variables here. And if you recall, the Z variable, we did enter a 1 here. And what I want to do is I want to multiply 1 by 100, which is our current spin speed. So let's go ahead and drag out of here. And I'm just going to type multiply. And I'm going to grab my Z from here, and I'm going to connect it there, and then into my delta raw Z axis, which is a float variable. And we know that because not only do we see the 0.0, but it's also green. We're just going to wire this directly in here. All right, we are completely done wiring this up. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so you can see all of that. Now let's hit compile and save one last time. And let's go back to our main level in our viewport. All right, so the beauty of variables is this. So here we have our cube spinning. If I locate it here and I bring this up, you can see that you can see all of the different actions here. And if we look around in our view, it would be nice if we can edit these directly in there, right? Whether it's spinning or not. So let's go ahead and uncheck this. Let's go back to spinning cube. And if we look at each one of these, there is an instance editable, and then there's expose on spawn. So let's turn on instance editable for each one, or just click this I, compile and save this, and go back to our level. And now you see if I select my cube, I can now access these in the default. So for example, if I don't like how fast that cube is spinning, let's go ahead and grab it one more time from our details panel here. Let's bring this up. You have to be very careful. Remember to save all of your work. Make sure you're in the details panel here instead of world settings, and then let's make sure that got selected again. Now you can see from my spin speed, I can make that 10, or let's see, 0 maybe? There you go, it stops spinning. If I make it 2, you can see it spins much slower. I also have is spinning, I can turn that on and off. And this opens it up if you're the designer yourself or for someone else. In the next video, we're going to take a look at these variables and pack them into functions so that we can reuse our code over and over again for other pickups or power-ups.